Hi everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good week, or are having a good week, or are going to have a good week. As a lot of you know, I'm on the online drawing development year at the Royal Drawing School this year. It's quite an amazing joyride, I have to say, with lots of interesting new ideas, challenges, and it's wonderful to learn from so many practicing artists. Because art is one of those things you can never really learn enough. I don't think you have to just keep learning and keep staying interested. And this is what I want to talk about today, because it's something that happened to me this week in one of the art classes about imagination. We were asked to draw a chair, then sit in the chair, imagine ourselves sitting in that chair, look at ourselves, how did we sit in the chair, how did we feel sitting in that chair, and then from the memory of sitting in that chair, draw us in the drawing of the chair that we had already drawn. So this is what mine ended up looking like. There you go. There's me asleep in the chair, and there's my foot walking into the picture, looking at myself in the chair. And I was rereading one of the essays I've got on my website on art philosophy, and it reminded me of this exercise because this is how artists do their research. Leonardo da Vinci already realized to research something you have to have an experiment relying on observation, and from there you can then logically come to certain conclusions. Of course, you don't necessarily know whether they're right or wrong. So I can say the researcher does not observe, but treads the path of perception. The researching artist experiences the outside world, nature, through experience. The essentially perceptive world meets the spiritual reality of the person. So my spirit is very much in that drawing. In this process, the qualities of reality become tangible for the artist. This is the non-measurable. The artist as a person could counter the research of the scientist with the following example. If you reduce the whole of natural phenomena to mere point-in noises, as in measure, how you measure them, right? As a practice science, as you do in science, the overall result remains, namely that of emptiness. So you've measured something, you've got all the pointers for it, but you've lost the human being. You've lost your subject. Max Scheler wrote it like this in 1933, actually. The scientist wants the knowledge of the absolutely real. The artist, as a person, wants the recreation of a concrete reality in which the connections of ideas are given better, more perfectly, more purely, without intention, than the world of natural perception. So the scientist wants to penetrate into the interior of matter by means of experiment, skeletonization, dissection. So, the scientist will open you up to have a look what's inside you, right? He'll find your heart, your lungs, all the other bits. But he won't find your soul. He won't find what makes you you. The artist, on the other hand, wants to interpret reality in order to penetrate nature and to penetrate that which nature does not show in its formations, because nature never reveals the whole idea of what wanted to become. Nature only ever shows a bit. Not all the blossoms on that pear tree came out that pear tree maybe was thinking of making. And the artist can get there through internalization. So the scientist will look at the external something and he'll go into it, but by going into it and cutting open and dissecting, he's turning it, making it become external again. Whereas the artist, when I research something, goes into the internal depths of the matter, into you. What makes you, that soul? How do I react to that person? How do I react to what I'm seeing? It's that spiritual element. It's just as much research, but it's much more human research without forgetting the human. And that's why I always think that art is still so important. It's a different way of seeing the world. The scientist has to leave his human being at the door. When he enters the lab, he has to hang up his coat and his spiritual persona in the cloakroom, and then he has to go into the laboratory and completely forget that he has a subjective view. Recently, though, it came out in the newspaper that the scientist is, of course, subjective as well. I mean, he'll research a topic that interests him. But the artist has to always go through their soul, their spirit, and produce what they feel, what they have internalized out on the paper, as we had to do in that exercise. So there you go. That's something to think on this time. Have a good week. Bye-bye.